Welcome to Career Bits, the podcast of the University Career Center at UNC Charlotte. This week on Career Bits, we are spotlighting student internships, and we were going to talk to 3 students who completed internships last summer and one who's even continuing on through this fall, and hear about how they found their internships, how they went through the interview process, and then the challenge of going from what they assumed was going to be an in-person internship to working in this virtual space that we're all in right now. And here to kick off that discussion with me is my colleague, Stephanie Bird, Associate Director for Career Development in the University Career Center. Stephanie, thanks for coming back on Career Bits.
Absolutely. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So let's talk just a little bit about the resources that the career coaching team offers to help students find internships and then prepare for that interview process.
Yeah. So I think a good place to start is just getting a one-on-one appointment with your career coach, to be absolutely honest. One of the things that we've done is we have our career community. So if you know you're interested in going into finance or healthcare or something within arts, we have career coaches that help in each of those areas. And we tend to be the experts, or at least the experts to connect you with different resources, different events that are happening on campus or within our office. And so I think the first place to start is even just thinking about scheduling an appointment with a career coach, just to help you learn about what's going on, around the area, how to get connected with employers. Actually just met with a student yesterday, and we were talking about all different ways to connect with employers. And so we have career treks, which are an amazing way to just learn about employers. We're still doing those virtually, which is amazing. We have a lot of employers also doing our meetup program, so we can help you get connected with our employers that are coming to meetups. So we have some employers coming for public health policy. And so the student I met with yesterday was really interested in that. So I was able to connect them to that employer that's going to be here next week, and then just start that networking process. So I think the fantastic thing about those one-on-one appointments is it lets us learn more about what you're hoping to do and what your goals are. And then we help put those pieces together. We walk with you in understanding what are the resources that we do have, like the treks, like the meetups. We also have a lot of different resources in terms of where to start searching for internships, how to start searching for them. So we can help share some of those things. But again, it lets us really focus on you specifically during that one-on-one appointment, which maybe you wouldn't get in a class presentation or something like that.
And we know about the mock interview program. We talk a lot about that and big interview that students can have access to. But what are other things that coaches can do to help students not only prepare for the interview, but then get themselves ready to be able to work as part of an internship?
Yeah, so one of the cool things, I don't know if you guys have chatted yet about the clothing closet. So we do have a clothing closet where students, if you know that you have an interview coming up and you just don't have the proper attire, even if you're doing a virtual interview, you want to make sure you're dressed appropriately. So we do have a clothing closet that you can actually go into Hire Honor and schedule a time to come into the clothing closet. It's free for students. Amazing employers and alumni have donated a lot of clothes where you can go in and just get clothes for free, and it's yours forever. And so that's one of the great resources that we have to help. We can also talk through, what does it look like for that first day? How do you make a good first impression? What does it mean to actually arrive on time, aka a little early? So just talking through some of those things, understanding what are some of the questions you can ask your supervisor, how to make sure that there's proper communication, because that's one of the hands down the most important things to think about is how to communicate with your supervisor. What are the expectations? So we can help in those areas too. Of just helping you feel a little more confident going into those first few days.
That's fantastic. Stephanie, thanks so much for outlining some of these resources. Just to highlight, the big thing that I've taken away is make an appointment, come and talk to your career coaches. You can do that through Hire Honor.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we would love to see you. We have virtual and in-person appointments. So if you want to do a virtual, a phone, or an in-person appointment, we've got all of them. So do whatever fits your needs the most.
Great. Thanks so much again, Stephanie. And now let's get and talk to some of our student interns. Happy to welcome on Career Bits now Jasmine Harris, a senior in marketing who was a marketing Foresight intern with Lowe's last summer. I'm going to get into that. That's such a cool title. But Jasmine, thanks for coming on Career Bits.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about how you found your internship with Lowe's and then what the interview process was like.
Yeah. So I found the internship on LinkedIn, actually. I just happened to be scrolling across their job postings, and I saw the marketing position. So then I remember that one of my friends from high school actually worked for Lowe's, and she did the rotational program from her internship and then accepted a full-time job. So I had messaged her asking her how she felt about the company. And so from then on, she gave me a good word. So then I was able to secure an interview. And the first interview was a 30-minute phone interview. So that was kind of like the preliminary questions, like tell me about yourself and those types of things. And then after I passed that, it was an hour-long video interview. And that was more about my work experience as well as like situational questions.
Well, very neat. Well, so when you were going through the interview process, was it done in person? Was it done virtually? How did they handle it?
So the first one was a phone interview, but then the second one ended up being video because of everything that was going on. So yeah, they're virtual.
So how did you prepare for that video interview? Because that's going to be something I think that's much more a part of life as we go forward, even after we get, beyond some of the worst of the pandemic.
Yeah. So I actually ended up doing a mock interview here at the Career Center. So that's one thing I did. I secured an interview suite. I made sure I was on to the interview at least like 30 minutes early to make sure that the internet and everything was okay. And then, of course, dressed in my professional attire as if I were an in-person interview.
Oh, very good. Very cool. The mock interview program is excellent. So when you got into the position, what exactly is a marketing foresight intern? That's such a neat title.
Yeah. So my team was actually new. So we were maybe like 2 weeks old by the time I got there. And so my position was to kind of look at customer trends from like 2 to 5 years and just kind of predict what our customer will want, think, need in the future. So, yeah, it was pretty much, I did a lot of research, a lot of news article scannings, a lot of presentations. So, yeah.
Very cool. What surprised you most about what you had to do as an intern?
Honestly, the whole position itself surprised me. They always ask me that question as an intern. And I was just surprised that there's a whole team dedicated to just like figuring out the future customer. And since Lowe's is just such a big company, there's a lot of like little teams that have very like nitpicky things that they have to do. And then it becomes a whole as the marketing team to kind of develop what's going to happen.
And how many other people did you get to work with as a part of your team?
Yeah, so my team, it was my mentor, my manager, I, and then 2 other people. So it was a team of 5 of us.
Okay, very cool. So you were the only intern on the team, though?
Yes.
Okay, neat. So what was that like being in that environment with these professionals and everything?
It was a little intimidating at first, definitely, because like I never got to really know them in person. So it was kind of intimidating doing everything online and also working with people that were like senior level instead of like associate or entry level. But I was able to really like step up to the plate and like kind of maintain the same level they were on.
That's great. And Jasmine, since you had the extra challenge of having to do that remotely and working virtually, how did the company help you overcome that? What did you do to kind of make sure you were staying on top of things?
Yeah, so I ended up moving back home for quarantine. And during that, we had a whole like separate office area because I really felt like I needed to like leave my room to get motivated and act like I was going to somewhere else. So I wake up early, make my coffee, get dressed as if I were going into the office, and then go to my desk and kind of get all that work done. And as well, Lowe's prepared us because they sent us a laptop. They sent us like all of our things to put at our office space. And then we also had a lot of like professional development and workshops that really helped us like carry us throughout the internship program.
What kind of workshops did they put on for y'all?
Yeah, so we had, like a public speaking workshop. We also had another one. It was we were speaking to the older interns, like the past interns, and kind of like hearing about their experiences. And then we also had a couple of CEO series. So like we talked to Marvin Ellison, who is the CEO of Lowe's, as well as his other equal counterparts. And they all talked to us about like their experiences, how they got to where they were. So yeah, a lot of learning.
That's very nice. Very nice. What do you think prepared you most from your coursework or things you're involved in here at UNC Charlotte for this experience?
So I would say I was really prepared in my professionalism. I got complimented on that a lot as an intern. And I would say like working here at the Career Center helped me with that, a lot of my business courses. And I've also taken a public speaking class that really helped me with like understanding how to really develop a good PowerPoint deck and how to explain it and read from it without actually reading from the deck. So I would say I was prepared with professionalism and as well as public speaking.
That's great. So what advice would you offer to students who are looking for internships?
Yeah, so one thing of advice is to start early. I was starting around this time last fall, and I would probably apply for like 3 internships a week. Like I was really dedicated to trying to find one for the last summer. And I was just applying to all internships because I was trying to have as many opportunities as possible. And another thing of advice would be interview as much as possible, practice your interviewing skills, because since I did apply for so many, I went through a lot of interviews and I feel like I got better within each process. And then third, I would say go to the career fairs most definitely, because even after I'd applied for Lowe's and had my interviews and I was just waiting to hear back, I went to the career fair and spoke to Lowe's, and I actually saw one of the recruiters that I had interviewed with. So I feel like that really helped me securing my spot as an intern because I was able to have that like face-to-face connection outside of just the interview process. So yeah.
That is fantastic. Well, Jasmine, thank you so much for sharing your experiences with us here on Career Bits.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me again.
Mm-hmm. Happy to be joined on Career Bits now by Jericho Janetta, senior in computer science at UNC Charlotte. Jericho, thanks so much for coming on Career Bits.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm very excited to be here.
Absolutely. And you are here because you're one of our internship spotlights. You're a student who completed an internship at Wells Fargo in the last semester. So I want to just talk to you a little bit about that and want to start with how you found the internship.
Okay. So for the internship, I know like our campus, they host a bunch of job fairs, internship fairs and all that. And I've actually attended a couple of those. And I've noticed that they're always usually packed, like with students. So it's kind of hard to shine, like with all those students that are, excellent students with great records. So I try to figure out a way for myself where I can kind of shine in my own way. So what I did is in the beginning of, I would say September, October area, around that time frame last year, I started looking up for internships like on my own, just online. So I've applied to, I would say about 8 to 9 different companies, and Wells Fargo was one of the companies that actually interviewed me.
So when you applied, did you apply straight through their website? Did you apply on HireNiner? Where did you apply?
Oh, I went straight to the website.
Okay.
Like I said, I needed to figure out a way to kind of like, I would say kind of shine on my own way and kind of like an initiative in my own on my part. So I went straight to the website and went to the career tabs and just looked it up.
And so what did you do in the interview process that really you think worked for you, that got you from stage to stage and then ultimately the offer?
Right. So the interview process, I always get super nervous when it comes to interviews, but it's slightly different because the first interview was actually virtual. It was pre-recorded, so you answer a bunch of questions that they have for you, and it was based on personality and all that. So for me, I think the reason why I kind of shine because I just it was just all natural. I didn't pretend as if it was like a presentation in class, you know what I mean? So what I did was I just talked to them as if they were in front of me or like having a coffee with a friend, That's what I did and just answered all the questions naturally.
What did you do to practice and prepare for the different parts of the internship or the interview, I mean?
Oh, so for practice, the campus actually, campus does a lot of mock-up interviews throughout my past 3 years that I've been in UNCC. I've had a couple courses where they kind of partner you with somebody to kind of practice you with the mock-up interviews. And it's silly because during those times, I didn't really find it helpful. So it was just more of like, I'll do it just because the course requires it. But looking back in my interview last year with Wells Fargo, it kind of clicked that all of those actually helped me a lot, to be more comfortable during the time.
Very good. So tell us about what you did on your internship. What was your experience like?
Yeah, so it's very interesting because the internship was supposed to be 2 months, and obviously on site, which is uptown. I believe it was Wells Fargo too, the building, and due to COVID, unfortunately, it was all changed. I didn't think it was gonna happen actually at all. So they kind of rearranged the program. They did it virtually, which is they cut it short to 5 weeks, and it was very compressed, and it was almost like a summer semester. Honestly, it was everything was compressed. But I was assigned to a team. It's called ABF. It's asset-backed finance, and we pretty much developed internal apps. So what my team did was develop an internal app for the team members, and so I was in the development part of the team, and I was assigned a project, and it wasn't anything crazy when it comes to coding. We did Python, and I'd never experienced Python before, but the team was very welcoming and nice enough to help me and kind of guide me through everything. And at the end of it, it was very successful. I learned so much, actually.
Very cool. So, and on your work experience and working in the virtual platform and things, what was that like for you when you had expected, you'd be in the office and maybe around, a table with people and stuff like that? What was it like to transition and just working in the virtual environment?
Right. So actually, I was kind of worried because first off, I was looking forward into kind of experiencing that professional environment, dressing up, going to work and stuff like that. And like I said, due to COVID, that kind of went away. But what they did was send me a laptop, a company laptop, and I did everything from home. It was very intense. I would say the first week I had a tough time because I wasn't expecting to be sitting in front of the laptop for like almost 8 hours in the day, and I was not used to that at all. So, and of course, being at home, you can't really escape it. So if you kind of wanted to walk around, I mean, I guess you could go outside, but for me, it was just like so intense that I was in front of the laptop for like most of the time. So I think that was the hardest challenge for me. But after the first week, you kind of learn how to manage your time and to kind of, make it a little bit easier for yourself.
So Jericho, obviously you're doing things right, and you are an attractive candidate. Wells Fargo pulled you right up out of the applicant pool, which is awesome. What about your experience in the classroom, or maybe even out of the classroom at UNC Charlotte, prepared you well for your internship with Wells Fargo?
Right. So actually very excited to say that because I've actually after my internship, I've actually emailed 2-3 of my professors in the past few semesters, and I just had to like thank them and extend my gratitude because the things that we do in the classroom at the moment, it doesn't seem like it would be useful in the future, like in your actual career. But looking back now during my internship, everything. Actually, my manager was actually kind of impressed because some of the things that they had, like normally they would teach new interns, they didn't have to kind of explain it to me in detail because I already had the knowledge from my past professors from the past semesters. So yeah, I would say just really pay attention, and if you engage yourself in these activities, like it really does pay off, like it does.
So Jericho, what piece of advice would you offer to students as they're searching for internships or as they prepare to take on a virtual internship?
Right. I would suggest definitely advise start applying now. Around this time is when they look at applications, and use your resources on campus when it comes to your resumes, because these companies get so many resumes from all over the country, and you want your resume to kind of pop, and you want them to see your resume. So we have many resources for that. Definitely utilize them because I did, and I think that's one of the reasons why my resume kind of shined. But I would suggest also to, like I said, engage in those activities on campus, like your courses. Don't just do the work because the course requires it. Make sure you actually understand it, and I promise you they will apply during the internship.
That's fantastic. Jericho, thanks so much for spending some time with us here on Career Bits and talking about your experiences. Best wishes as you go forward into your career path.
I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Happy to welcome to Career Bits now, Kat Bryshaft, a junior in management who is interning with SCORE Global Reinsurance. Kat, thanks so much for coming on Career Bits.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you so much.
This is a cool internship that not only extended from the summer for you, but it's actually gone on through the fall now too. And you've been able to navigate that through going virtual and all that. We're going to talk about all that. But first off, let's talk about how you found your internship and what the company's all about.
Yeah, definitely. So I found my internship on Hire Niner actually, and I applied everywhere. Like literally when I had downtime, I wasn't doing homework, I was applying. Like it was apply, apply, apply. So I found this like internship, and it was funny because I got this like random call, and I was like, okay, like this random call, like I've been applying to all these internships and everything. Maybe it's something. And so it was kind of just like a random like phone screen. So it was like all of a sudden I was like, okay, boom, I got to know my elevator pitch. I have to like, get all this situated. And it ended up going really, really well. So I guess the process was more like the phone screen with, I think it was the recruiting coordinator. Her name was Crystal. And then she like kind of like set up my other interview with my soon-to-be manager, Amy. So I had like that phone interview, and it was interesting because at that time it was like right around when, everything started happening. So it was like, are you still okay with being virtual? Like understanding like you're not going to be in the office. And I was like, at this point, anything, like I will take anything, like I don't really know much about the company, but like it's something, let's go for it. So, so a little bit more about the company. It's kind of confusing because, you hear the term like reinsurance and you're like, what is that? It was funny because like my first day, I, awkwardly asked Crystal, and I was like, I hate to do this because like I tried doing research, I really did, but I could not find anything. And she was like, oh no, you're good. You're in HR. Like you don't really have to know the bits and pieces of everything, which is kind of nice. So I just kind of support those employees. But she's like, yeah, so basically reinsurance is insurance for insurance, if that makes sense. So it's like you don't want to take on too much risk. Yeah. So we help kind of like diversify that risk. But yeah.
Yeah. Oh, very cool. So I think it's great that you were just applying to things and they called you straight up and there's your interview. So what did you do on the front end to prepare yourself to be able to go through that? Because obviously you did it successfully. So how did you prepare for that?
Prepare for the internship or the interview?
Oh, for the interviews.
So a lot of it was just practice. Like I know people hear that like all the time, like you just have to practice. But seriously, find somebody that you can trust with like who will give you honest feedback. And so for me, like that was my best friend Amanda, and also like my dad and like my parents, and just like, give me just random questions. And I always like, I'm super into career stuff. It's because I'm in HR. But so like one thing that I always do with my friend Amanda is we'll just like randomly, we'll be in the middle of a conversation. I'm like, give me your elevator pitch. So it's off the bat, you not expecting it or whatever, but you're able to like get that out right then and there. So that way you're always prepared. So that's kind of like what I did. And then also research. That's a big one.
That's awesome. So when you got onto the job, let's talk about like how you prepared yourself for the internship, knowing that it was going to be fully virtual, and what all they had you doing, what all you got to learn, and everything like that.
Yeah, so the nice thing is, I feel like a lot of people don't understand this, is like, they know that you're an intern. They know you don't have a lot of experience, and they're most likely really willing to help you learn. So for me, it was a lot like, I had pretty much no experience in HR besides working at the Career Center. And other than that, I was kind of just thrown in, and I was actually invited to come in a week early so that way I could help onboard. I think we had about 19 interns, including myself. And so like there really wasn't much prepping because a lot of it was just like on the job experience. And so a lot of it was like scheduling and stuff like that, but I feel like that's most like intern work. But at the same time, like I've learned through scheduling, that's how you get your connections. And it's very, very important to get those connections. And so essentially like what ended up happening was they took me and kind of, I hate saying that I was like the lead intern because I feel like that doesn't give credit to like all the interns and like their work and everything. But I was kind of doing all like behind the scenes work. So I was doing all of the like scheduling, the speaker series that we had, contacting, different people in different areas. I was actually very, very fortunate to actually meet with the America CEO and not only have a one-on-one with him, and he's amazing, I love him, but also have him meet with our interns and help them kind of establish those connections as well. So a lot of it was just behind the scenes work of scheduling and just coordinating everything. So that was kind of like my main job, but I also helped with our human resource business partners. We call them HRBPs, and helping them with some side work too. So I was able to work on a couple projects that I was really grateful to be a part of.
Kat, I think it's so neat that you've talked about all the networking you got to do as part of that. And I think that's one thing that interns should always take advantage of is two. One, they're there to teach you, so you don't have to know everything. Be willing to sponge it all up, but also never turn down the opportunity to meet people. And that's cool that you expand your whole LinkedIn network of your current internship. Now, you had a unique experience because your internship was for the summer, and then they asked you to continue on into the fall. So what was that like?
So going back to the networking, because so one of the things I was going to talk about is how important, especially if you are able to get like a virtual internship where it's like, it doesn't require a lot of like, passing people in the hallways, that sort of thing. I kind of miss that kind of social interaction. And it's super important to get that one-on-one. So it's like just scheduling one-on-ones and literally just saying, hey, like, what do you do? How do you provide, like, what do you do for the company? And then like, what is your day-to-day like? And do that with pretty much anybody that you can either find interest in. And it doesn't mean that you guys have to have like, a connection right off the bat either, but just like any kind of connection. So essentially what ended up happening was through the one-on-ones, I was able to extend my internship because I ended up meeting with my now manager, Amanda Bill, and she was actually an intern before and kind of like mentored me in a way throughout my internship. And she was like, hey, I could really use you for this upcoming fall. I have a lot going on. And she was in charge, or is still in charge, of the global, essentially, trainings and kind of helping employees find resources that they can use in order to like help them not only with their work, but also in their personal lives. So it's been really awesome to like work with her, but that's essentially what ended up happening was I got that one-on-one and I just established that connection.
Well, that's fantastic work. So what advice would you have for students as they're seeking internships just on the looking process? Because you said you were just applying everywhere.
Yeah, so apply. And like, I know everyone's heard that before, but seriously, like I was applying on LinkedIn. I was applying on pretty much anywhere as long as it wasn't too sketchy. But literally, if there is an internship that you're interested in, apply. Like seriously, if you are worried about, I don't have enough experience, you are like not going to get it if you don't apply. And I actually applied to a couple of internships that apparently were for graduate students. And I think it was someone from Spectrum actually like called me back and was like, hey, you're not qualified for this one. We still really, really like you. So here's another opportunity that you can get. So I was really, really fortunate with that. But yes, just apply. Find places where, like, for me, it was a lot of like transportation issues because I don't have a car. So it was literally looking at a map of the light rail and finding places that like, okay, and cold emailing saying like, hey, do you have any opportunities? If not, do you know anybody? That sort of thing, just sending my resume out.
That's great networking advice for sure. And then for students that are going to launch in and participate in virtual internships, since you've so successfully done that, what are things that you can recommend people do to manage their time well and really manage the process of that?
Yeah, so I would say, first of all, one-on-ones are your friend. So try to schedule as many one-on-ones as you can, especially in the first few weeks, because you want to get comfortable with who you're going to be working with. And also, like, if you see, oh, well, this person talks about this person a lot, I should probably reach out to them to see what they do if I'm going to be working around that. And then reaching out to anybody that you find interest in. So it's like this internship or your internship is your way of just getting as much experience as you can. So utilize those one-on-ones and just network, and just, essentially interview them in a way, because they know that you're a student. They know that you're not going to be there for a long time or whatever. You're there for the experience, and you're there just to, basically gain experience. And then I would say the next thing is sit in on meetings. So that's what I did a lot of, just like, hey, I was just wondering if I could sit on a meeting. Like, I will turn off my camera and my microphone and everything, and I just want to like kind of see how it works. I think I gained a lot of experience that way too. So that was really interesting. And again, like I was invited to, like, how I kind of established my connection with Amanda Bill, my now manager, was she invited me on a couple of global calls. So that means like I have a couple 6:30 meetings like in the morning, and waking up really, really early and sitting on calls. And it was so eye-opening because there's so many different sides of HR that you don't see besides the hire and fire department, if you will. So it was really interesting not only to see the, I guess, like what they do, but also how does the culture impact, HR and that sort of thing. And then I guess my last thing is add everybody on LinkedIn. Anybody you come in contact with, add them on LinkedIn. What's the worst that's going to happen? They decline it? Okay. But yeah.
That's fantastic. Kat, thanks so much for sharing your experience and time with us here on Career Bits.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
And so there you have it. Some great information from students who've successfully completed interns or still even in their internships. Hope you've learned a lot from that. Want to thank Stephanie Bird from the Career Center for coming by, talking about how to make appointments with your career coaches and the resources the Career Center offers. Thanks again to Jasmine, Jericho, and Kat for sharing their experiences. And remember, you can follow the happenings of the Career Center on our website, career.uncc.edu, or on social media @NinerCareers. Talk to you soon.